Whether you've played any of the games or not, chances are if you've ever owned a console, you've heard of Konami's flagship title, Metal Gear Solid. Starting with their two Metal Gear games in 1987 and 1990, the first MGS game was released in 1998 and has been considered one of the most important games of all time. And as a franchise with 28 years under its belt, the MGS world has worked up quite an extensive lore. So with the Phantom Pain arriving on September 1st, newcomers may find themselves rather lost when it comes to the elaborate backstory the series is famous for. So today, we're going to focus on what you need to know about Metal Gear Solid. Let's start with what's in a name.
What's Metal Gear really designed for?
A Metal Gear is a fictitious bipedal tank of varying size and armaments, most famous for being used as a mobile nuclear launch platform. Whereas Solid is in reference to this gentleman, series protagonist Solid Snake, a legendary soldier of the late 20th and early 21st century. Solid Snake owes his exceptional skills with close quarters combat to being a genetically manipulated clone of a soldier the world came to recognize as the greatest warrior of the 20th century. But we'll get back to that later.
Snake. And stay out of our way.
Where we really need to begin is with the events of Metal Gear Solid 3. Set in 1964, the story of MGS3 starts off with a Cold War scandal orchestrated by a power-hungry Soviet colonel named Volgin, whose evil plots involve a coup d'etat and a good old-fashioned nuclear crisis. But the real story starts with the defection of another legendary soldier known as the Boss. A master of close quarters combat, the Boss's reputation as a hero primarily comes from her service in World War II with a unit called the Cobras, effectively making her the first Snake in the series' historical timeline. However, she was inevitably assassinated by her protege, Naked Snake, following her defection to the USSR while under orders from the CIA, a sacrificial plot that was orchestrated to appease two branches of a shadowy organization known as the Philosophers. But the Boss is not only remembered for her skills as a soldier.
The foibles of politics and a march of time can turn friends into enemies just as easily as the wind changes.
The impact of her beliefs would make disciples not only of Naked Snake, but their CIA comrade Zero as well. As a result, these men would struggle to carry out their separate interpretations of the Boss's will, a dying wish to see the world united. A struggle that would ultimately culminate in a worldwide war economy by the events of Metal Gear Solid 4 in 2014. It would be a struggle Snake and Zero would fight for over the course of their entire lives. So who is Naked Snake?
I'm an ornithologist.
Naked Snake is a Byronic hero in the series, more commonly known as Big Boss, a mantle bestowed upon him after successfully assassinating his mentor, and a title he would struggle to accept until after the events of Peace Walker in 1974.
He claims to be Big Boss. Big Boss? Patch him through!
Armed with an arsenal of combat skills which surpassed even those of his mentor, and an unmatched influence over his peers, Big Boss would go on to be labeled the greatest warrior of the 20th century. Meanwhile, Zero would spend the early 70s prior to Peace Walker in creating the Patriots, through attaining a cache of hidden funds called the Philosopher's Legacy. He would even make Big Boss a founding member at the behest of Revolver Ocelot, a sometime triple agent known for revering Big Boss.
Let the legend come back to life.
And for taking a motorcycle to the face like a champ. Unfortunately, Big Boss drifted away from the group due to his and Zero's differing views on the Boss's will, leaving Zero to take drastic steps to preserve his organization's worshipped icon via an experiment that received a special mention in this year's E3 trailer, a project named
Les enfants terribles.
Translating to the terrible children, Les Enfants Terribles provided the Patriots the cloned offspring of Big Boss through his DNA, the ovaries of a donor, and the voluntary surrogacy of another Patriots member named Eva, who had a penchant for espionage. She was also fond of driving motorcycles into Revolver Ocelot's face. Nevertheless, her feelings for Big Boss were not exactly subtle.
Helping you out.
Well, what do you think?
Ugh. Anyway, Ava would nevertheless give birth to the twin snakes, Liquid and Solid. A third clone named Solidus would also be born later on.
Damn the Patriots!
Understandably, Les Enfants Terribles would spark Big Boss's departure from the Patriots when he found out about it, sending him to roam the world as a mercenary. While fighting for the Colombian government in 1972, Big Boss would defeat another mercenary named Kazuhira Miller on the battlefield.
Kazuhira. It's Japanese for peace.
While initially hesitant, Kaz would partner up with his triumphant adversary to create a private military company called Militaires Sans Frontières. The purpose of MSF was to create a private military that values soldiers as individuals with unique skills rather than expendable political tools, and to give shelter to those displaced by conflict. It was a collective body not enforced by political doctrine, ideology, or isms, where soldiers could develop their careers in battles of their choosing.
A new man. Now, give that new life to me.
This was Big Boss's response to what he believed to be the misinterpretation of his mentor's last will by the Patriots, who, in contrast, aimed to unite the world under a singular will, specifically Zero's. By the end of the Peace Walker incident in 1974, the Patriots had gone into hiding, causing Zero as well as his organization to be more commonly known by the codename Cypher. Whereas the MSF had grown in manpower to 300 personnel of multinational backgrounds operating out of an abandoned oil rig in the Pacific Ocean, and not only had become a nuclear power, but also had a Metal Gear in their possession, which was constructed and maintained under the supervision of Huey Emmerich and Dr. Strangelove respectively. However, Big Boss's experience during the apex of Peace Walker caused him to reconsider the actions of his mentor 10 years ago, leading him to believe the boss had not only abandoned him, but their shared principles of what a soldier should be.
We can only keep on hoping.
In March of 1975, Big Boss and Kazuhira Miller received word that Paz Ortega Andrade, a Cypher agent whose cover had been blown at the end of Peace Walker, survived her struggle with Big Boss before being captured by the United States and held at a CIA black site in Cuba called Camp Omega. On top of this, a young MSF ally named Chico ran away in an attempt to rescue Paz himself, only to be captured anyway, leaving Big Boss to rescue the pair before the location of Mother Base could be discovered.
Get inside and head northeast.
Paz and Chico were discovered after being tortured by a mysterious man named Skullface, commander of a unit called XOF or ZOF. The only thing that's clear is that he seems to be harboring a grudge against Big Boss and Zero. While successful in rescuing the pair, Big Boss realized too late they had been used as part of a Trojan horse operation by Zoff to lure him out of MSF's mother base, so they could infiltrate it under the guise of inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Returning just in time to see the smoke rising from Mother Base, Big Boss was able to evacuate Kaz and a handful of their comrades before watching everything they worked for literally go up in flames. insult to injury, Skullface rigged Paz's body with an explosive, causing her to throw herself from the escaping chopper just moments before detonation. A gesture that would prove futile, as the blast would still send the helicopter and its survivors careening out of control. Yet Kaz and Big Boss would survive the experience, though the latter would awaken from a coma 10 years later, amputated and atrophied, but not deterred from seeking vengeance as he throws himself into the harsh world of 1984 in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. And those are the bare essentials of what MGS lore you need to know before September 1st. For Sticky Trigger Entertainment, I'm Sean Peter Fox. Thanks for watching.